Japanese politics have been wild lately.
Excess funds from fundraising events are reported to have gone off the books.
Kishida removed 4 ministers.
Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is stepping down.
4 different prime ministers in about 4 years. The most recent, who is just a few weeks into the job, he decides to roll the dice and calls a snap election.
衆議院の解散総選挙の時期について。
But the timing couldn't have been worse. His government is drowning in scandal. He's supposed to be the guy to clean it up, but by the time voting day comes around, lots of people just don't believe him anymore, and his coalition government suffers a huge setback.
The Japanese voter has very clearly demonstrated their lack of tolerance for the kind of politics that the ruling coalition has been indulging in.
The coalition of parties doesn't win enough seats for a majority.
結果は厳しいものとなっています。
And this leaves the world's 4th largest economy and the party that has ruled Japan almost continuously for nearly 70 years suddenly wondering, how are we going to rule now?
I'm aware that the voters gave us a harsh verdict.
So, the longtime ruling party, the Liberal Democratic Party, which by North American standards is actually more conservative than liberal, they're swamped in controversy by late last year. Party leadership is accused of pocketing millions of dollars of party funds. Several ministers, including cabinet ministers, quit. Then, after public prosecutors looked into it, the party admits 85 of its members had failed to properly report their income.
It was the largest scandal in recent years.
The LDP is infamous for its lack of transparency for its funding. And so this is a pattern that has plagued the ruling party for most of its existence. So the backlash was pretty severe.
So these allegations of misappropriation, of kickbacks, get people really ticked off. Because it's not just politicians being bad. It's at a time when life has gotten harder. During the pandemic, Japan went through a period of deflation, falling prices that, while in the short term sound appealing as a consumer, actually means big trouble for the economy. But inflation isn't easy to deal with either. And for a couple of years now, Japan has struggled to get its inflation rate down to a healthy 2%. So you get headlines like these, where voters are trying to make sense of why food is suddenly more expensive, while politicians break or bend the rules to get ahead.
一般的に言って物価ですよね。我々の平民はもう物価しかないでしょう。あと悪いことするね。自民党果たしてどういうものかなと思って。
I think there's a certain amount of fury among the Japanese public that these guys just can't come clean and they're careless and irresponsible.
According to a Pew Research survey, approval ratings of the Liberal Democratic Party plunged. Favorability ratings down, unfavorability ratings up. And I've seen some polls that put their approval rating as low as 19%. It even struck at the core of Japanese people's satisfaction with democracy itself. They're not satisfied with how it's working in their country. Like I said, bad time for a scandal. People were angry, and Prime Minister Fumio Kishida eventually agreed to step down. This guy, Shigeru Ishiba, was his replacement, and he promises to clean house.
Ishiba Shigeru-kun, 26票。
Ishiba basically removed several high-profile politicians from the LDP who were implicated in the scandal.
But he wouldn't just take the reins during stormy weather. He would take a big risk, put his entire government on the line, and it didn't work. Shigeru Ishiba called a snap election.
And I think he believed he would end up with the public behind him because he had such a long history of being one of the more popular politicians in Japan, has a really well-established reputation as a reformer, as someone who wants to strengthen Japan's democracy. And so the LDP, I think, believed that he could be the one who would turn things around.
The consensus within the party was that it's better now than to wait and things getting worse.
But this gamble was a spectacular failure. Ishiba was first elected leader largely on his promise to root out anyone involved in the scandal. He even promised that the party would financially abandon the re-election campaigns of any politician that was involved. Except it didn't.
So those revelations were terribly timed. It was a terrible look for the LDP, and I think the public is frustrated, just a feeling that the LDP just is not addressing people's needs while taking care of its own needs.
Japan's House of Representatives has 465 seats. 233 is a majority. And prior to this weekend's election, the Liberal Democratic Party, combined with its coalition partner, Komeito, had a stable majority of 279 seats. But after the vote, that majority disappeared. Even combined, the two parties fell far short of 233, ending with just 215 seats, their worst result in 15 years.
The result has left the usually dominant Liberal Democratic Party unable to form a traditional coalition government.
And that, of course, will make a big difference on whether or not Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba can actually hold on to his job.
The Japanese yen dipped to a 3-month low against the US dollar. And this is after 4 straight weekly declines. Investors bracing for political and economic uncertainty. Under Japan's constitution, the parties now have 30 days to put together a coalition. But there is considerable pressure on the LDP right now to figure something out sooner. It's possible Shigeru Ishiba could decide to lead a minority government. His party did still win more seats than any other single party, even if it falls short of a majority. But his long-standing coalition with Komeito is no longer enough. To govern effectively, they may have to pull in a third coalition partner.
So Prime Minister Ishiba has a divided party, and now he's being asked to create a divided government.
I think many of the opposition parties who could be potential coalition partners are reluctant to join a coalition at this stage because of the unpopularity of the LDP that was just demonstrated in the election.
Now, could opposition parties band together to remove the LDP from power altogether, create some kind of radically different coalition? It doesn't look likely.
The opposition is going to have a tough time forming a coalition given significant differences in policy positions. I wouldn't rule it out completely, but it is a very difficult task.
But it's very much an open question whether the man who triggered this chaos can survive as prime minister. There are already serious questions about whether he's the right man to lead the party into such rarely charted, choppy waters, given how badly he miscalculated the single most important move of his prime ministership so far. And that leaves the door open to something you wouldn't expect of the country seen as Asia's most stable democracy. 5 prime ministers in under 5 years.